Hello everyone, I'm Captain Logan, and I still have a show. Joining me tonight, as always, is my son, Jason, who is going to be chat moderating and co-hosting. He's got a segment later where he's going to be talking about something that we wanted to do a whole show on a couple of weeks ago, but we've been very, very busy with things. I'm sorry, this is very unprofessional of me. Give me a second. This is going to drive me insane the entire show. I need 1 minute. Hold on. Okay, now I'm good.
You needed it to be purple.
I could not deal with
love
it.
Purple?
I love purple, and I needed to make sure that there was enough purple behind it. Even though we were, surrounded by a purple brick wall in the background.
Yeah, that's true. And there's like purple people down there.
Purple people.
And then purple
eaters?
people eaters too.
Oh, all right. Well, anyway, so this is only our second show of the year, even though we're already into February. It was a really busy month last month. We had Jason was sick a couple of weeks ago, and we had some other things come up, so we ended up not doing a show that night. Then the next week we had a death in the family. We had to go for out of town for a funeral. So now we're finally back. So that's why I said Jason. I still have a show. Nobody panic. And this is not going to usually be a monthly show. We're back to weekly, hopefully. And so naturally we've got a bunch of stuff to talk about tonight. Although it's not really a lot of stuff that's been building up. It's mostly just this week's stuff. That's how busy of a week it's been for... I know, it's and kind of exciting, and I'm excited to be able to use the word exciting, and I know not everybody is going to feel that way about some of the stuff we're talking about tonight, but I'm going to be shockingly, relentlessly positive this evening compared to the way things have been with a lot of superhero movie announcements and trailers and things over the last, months and years, really. Not that everything sucks, but just it's been a while since I've had a year, Jason, where the big stuff, I can say, I'm actually really looking forward to that and wish it was coming sooner. It's been a while. And even for some things that I'm pretty sure are going to be good, I'm not just, chomping at the bit for it. You know what I mean? A lot of the things that I've liked lately have been things that I expected would maybe be okay and then surprise me, or that I really had no expectations for at all. I went into Deadpool and Wolverine almost kicking and screaming, and then I loved it. And I was like, and that was a nice experience. But this year... the three big ones, and or I should say, three of the big ones. I might not be thinking of everything, but the big stuff on my radar, it's all coming out in July. Two of them are big superhero things. One is the DCU's first major movie with Superman, and the other is the first serious Marvel project that has looked original and new and different and like what we've really been needing in a long time in Fantastic Four. And then the third is a thing that I thought I was done having any excitement for ever again. It would just constantly make fun of and rename every time, and that's a Jurassic World movie. And in all July, we gotta make sure and clear our calendars for July.
Yeah.
To make sure there's nothing happening in our lives, because all we're going to be doing is reviewing movies that month.
And going to the theater.
We're going to have these, epic, probably 3-hour spoiler casts for all these movies.
Yeah.
Remind me in the comments, folks, any other big things in our vein that are coming out this year. We've got this July specifically. Only mention it if it's a July picture. No, next month... Or next month, what am I talking about? Next week, we have Brave New World, the other Marvel movie, or I'm sorry, one of the other 3 Marvel movies coming out this year. I guess we also have, sorry, it's all coming back to me now, because we've also got, what is that? Why can't I think of it? Help me out. Villain movie that is Winter Soldier. They split them off. Asterix. The Thunderbolts, thank you, the Asterix movie. That's the other MCU movie. So neither of those am I just super stoked about. I want to be excited about Brave New World. I'm really, I don't want to say apprehensive, but I've been somewhere between cautiously optimistic and expecting it not to be great and not wanting to get my hopes up too much. You know what I mean? Because of how I felt about the TV show that is a direct sequel to. So, anyway, we've talked about all this before.
The TV show, it's going to start off great. Yeah, like, is that what you're worried about?
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried about that. It's also weird walking into like Target and Walmart right now, seeing Harrison Ford's face on Red Hulk figures. Like, we're in a weird future.
Yeah.
It's a real weird world that we're living in. But yeah, what else is this year? Nobody in the comments is really mentioning anything else except Smurfs, which, if that's a thing this year, I didn't even know about that. Did that get a reboot, or is it just another of those really terrible, crappy Smurf movies? I don't know.
I don't even know anything about that.
Yeah, I had no idea. Anyway, welcome everybody. Thanks a lot for tuning in. We're going to talk about the Jurassic World Rebirth trailer and the Fantastic Four First Steps trailer, possibly not in that order this evening. And then a third thing that I will not have positive things to say about, but it is not a trailer. It is an announcement for a new series that I don't think should be happening. I think it's a giant mistake, and we'll talk about that when we get there. If you would like to make your opinion heard on the show this evening about these or any other topics within reason related to geekiness and popular culture, leave a super chat in any dollar amount. That guarantees that we'll talk about your topic and helps things move along here on Geekvolution. If you don't want to do that or can't do that, we appreciate you just watching, and you can leave a regular comment. Make sure to tag Jason or tag video game or Jason's Video Game Secrets. That's the channel that he's always logged in as. Hasn't put out a video in a while on that channel, but hopefully at some point he'll come back and do some more of those.
I haven't been in the mood.
So
I get in the mood, and then I'm like, boom, boom.
So I guess the other thing you could tag him at is a lazy video producer. He'll answer to.
We've been doing this movie. I haven't had any time for that.
Jason is not lazy. He's been extremely busy with dance and with the movie. Hey, before we get into the lead-in topics. And the opening Patreon question, because we will still do that, of course. A quick plug for Patreon, patreon.com/geekvolution. $2 tier allows you to leave comments or leave a question each month. I haven't put out the prompt for the one this month yet, because we still have some from last month. We'll get those knocked out, because we have...
Oh, Karate
Kid, which looks really good.
Thank you, Dan.
And I just punched myself in the face. But anyway, yes, that is a big one. Is that also July?
I don't know.
Tell me that's not July.
I don't think it's July.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Is that July? Sorry, whenever you start typing on your computer, I feel like I have to stop everything and wait for you.
May.
Okay.
May 30th, yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good that we'll get a little bit of time in between. We'll definitely review that. At least me and Jason.
Yeah, it's gonna suck because we're gonna have to binge Daredevil for Daredevil.
Oh yeah, we got that coming.
I want to binge Cobra Kai,
and I'm excited about Daredevil. It's a crazy looking year, and I hope it's not a whole bunch of disappointments. But I'm not saying that this is the first year that we've had a lot of things that look like they might be decent, but it's the first year that we've had a lot of things that are just specifically things that get me stoked. For various reasons. But anyway, before we get into all of that, Jason, why don't you, without revealing too much, give everybody a little bit of a movie update.
Okay.
Because one of the reasons we've had time off is because we've been working extremely hard on the Superhero Rewind movie. Yes. And we've made a lot of progress. And Jason's going to tell you a little bit about it.
Okay, well, we did a huge weekend shoot a couple weeks back. We had lots of people here, and it was very cool. We had about 4 or 5 people that came over, and that is more than normal.
On top of what we usually have.
Yes. And it's just been it's very fun. We have been editing like crazy.
Yeah,
you have.
Since I got this new production machine, I've finally been able to edit a lot more.
Yeah, and we've got up to an hour 15.
Yeah, we're close to an hour and a half.
And
for a rough cut. So I don't even know what people be asking me what the length of the movie is going to be. It looks like it's tracking for over 2 hours now, possibly 210, somewhere between 210 and 220. I'm going to try to shave it down as close to 2 hours as possible, but Jason is leery of me being too careful about length, so...
Yeah.
He wants it to be at the length it needs to be, so
We'll figure it out. I want to watch the whole thing to figure it out.
Austin's excited about the Toxic Avenger remake. That finally got a date, and that's coming out.
Wait, what?
Well, that looks fascinating because it's got actually a
budget
in a major cast.
Oh, okay, weird.
Yeah.
What? Okay.
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy, and we're reviewing the original next week. By the way, no rewind this Friday because I have a writers' meeting. So Austin and I are gonna do a longer stream for the top 100 superhero movies. We've got about 20 left, and I don't know if we'll finish this Friday, but we're gonna get as far as we can. That's what we'll do Friday night, and then next week we'll get back to rewind commentaries, and we'll do the original Toxic Avenger. But yeah, Peter Dinklage, I think, is playing Toxic Avenger. Yeah.
Okay.
Isn't that nuts?
Yeah.
That's what killing you means.
We've edited a bunch. We're up to maybe 90% shot.
Oh, more than that.
Yeah. And
we've been saying that for a while. It's more like 95 or even more. We basically have some dialogue and a little bit of action stuff left to shoot for the climax, and we've got a big scene at the end to shoot. And that's pretty much it. There's some pickups here and there.
And we've got score for the first half hour.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Wendell's been working hard, getting the score a lot faster than I expected.
Yeah.
We have the first half hour. I know he's already done quite a bit more than that, but
yeah. And Darth Bobo asks, are we going to get the Captain Logan cut?
I mean, it is possible that I do. Well, if we trim it down very much, I guess there could be another cut with extra stuff in it.
Yeah.
But it not being obviously a movie for profit or any kind of a studio sort of thing, there's not really any reason to leave a bunch out unless we just decide it's way too long. You know, like just preposterously long.
Yeah, if it becomes 3 hours, which I know it won't, because we were worried about like the first part being too long, and then now that we've started editing like the main part of it, that's not going as quick as slow as I thought it would.
And we're hitting the third act faster than I thought we would.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, okay.
It does make me a little bit concerned that the start may be a little slow for people, but we'll see.
The problem is, I'm not a very good test audience because like I know the script like really well.
Well, yeah, of course, you get so close to it. Mm-hmm. But all I can say is we've been looking at it and showing it to our crew and stuff, you know, as we go along, and obviously we're close to it, and this doesn't mean anything, but we've been laughing at a lot of things. Like it, I think it's gonna work. I think it's gonna be fun.
It'll be fun. Yeah. I think it'll be funny.
If nothing else. And I'm happy that we've got more coverage in places than I thought we might. Like, there are scenes I was worried I wouldn't have as much to work with as I needed. And that has not been the problem I thought it would. It is cutting together a lot better than I thought. You know, where you want to make sure you get stuff from enough angles, and that your continuity tracks when you're dealing with, moving through places and stuff. And anyway, if anybody has questions about that, feel free. Some things we might not be able to answer because we don't want to spoil too much. We do want to put another trailer out soon.
We have one cut, but we don't have any music for it.
Yeah, and I just didn't want to overwhelm Wendell right now, so I haven't even sent him that yet. But we might put some other music behind it just to get it out, or we might wait a while and still have him score it. Mm-hmm. What I want to do, what I kind of wanted to do, Jason, was put some kind of like popular song behind it, but then now you got copyright issues.
Yeah.
You know? And even if we weren't too worried about, like getting flagged and stuff, it does feel a little bit weird to try to sell a movie, even a thing that you're putting out for free, on somebody else's song. Mm-hmm. You know? It's like I wasn't sure if I wanted to do that.
Yeah.
That seems super kosher. Go ahead and throw us a Patreon question, Jason.
Okay, well, I have one from Carl Maxey.
Oh, thanks, Carl Maxey. I was just talking to him on Patreon today.
Oh, really?
Or not Patreon, on Discord.
He asks, how much interference do you think Disney Marvel should have with the Marvel Comics industry? They have had some characters looking like the actors, but I really started to notice when Miss Marvel was retroactively made into an inhuman mutant hybrid after the show made her a mutant. I think there should be some separation.
Crazy. Yeah, I mean, it's funny because we were talking about something related to this on Discord today, where we were discussing characters being drawn like different actors and how odd that is, and how kind of murky the legality of that seems to me.
Yeah.
So, like, not exactly the same thing, but it's just funny that came up because he was in that conversation. And in a perfect world, to me, like, nearly none. I feel like it's almost two separate questions, right? Because he says, like, how much control or interference? To say it the way you said it, interference. How much interference should DC and Marvel have in the comic side, as far as, like, you know, making those sort of decisions for them? That should be a zero. The question on top of that, though, that feels sort of baked in is synergy. This doesn't have to come from the top down. This could come from the comic site itself, going, we might, and it does a lot, we might be able to sell more books or get people more interested if we're showing them things that they're familiar with from the stuff they're paying more attention to in extra media, if the status quos are similar. If we see this a lot with costumes, where it's like whatever the popular costume is in movies or television, we tend to go that way in the comics, or something similar. Going all the way back, I mean, like, you know, the Ultimate X-Men famously had like black leather because of the movies, things like that. Wow. Yeah, and like Star-Lord's costume changed to the movie costume immediately in comics around 14, and then we just stuck with that for a long time. And sometimes we go back and forth, but I think you still see that some, et cetera, et cetera. That is a harder question to answer, the synergy question, because I think sometimes it is smart, at the very least on a base level, to maybe not like fully match up story-wise and costume-wise and everything, what exactly is happening in movies, or to have to, like, because this always sucks, stop somebody's major epic run because we have to have synergy and it has to be exactly like the movies. Like, that stuff sucks. But I don't think I begrudge them so much. This particular character has a TV show out right now. Let's give them a monthly, even though they haven't had one in a long time.
Yeah. That
sort of thing. Like, and I don't even know if I would call that synergy so much as just using one thing to advertise the other. I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that.
And also, if you like a character, you want more from that character, so.
Yeah, certainly. Now, sometimes that's really obligatory and forced, and those things will end up sucking because nobody really wanted to write them. So, like, that can be really stupid, and that's bad, but, yeah, you know, especially if somebody has an idea, obviously. But anyway, so as far as Disney having any say on what the comic side has to do, I don't like that at all. I mean, I say none. I do want them to be separate, and I want those universes to be allowed to be built as their own individual independent things.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with using one to sell the other, and going back and forth. So I guess you could use the word synergy there, but I don't think it has to be perfectly in sync and simpatico.
Yeah.
And I'm just glad that this might sound like an insane thing, but these days I don't put anything past these companies. I'm just glad that Disney hasn't tried to force the comic side to be in universe with the MCU.
Yeah.
I don't think you can take that completely for granted.
Yeah. Seems like something they would do.
Especially with sales numbers apparently not being great, and the comic side apparently, being kind of a throwaway thing for Disney. I mean, there was a period where I kind of wondered if they might consider just shutting it down, which would be insane. But
yeah. Now, does
you get the sense that it doesn't really? I mean, it's not profitable for that larger company. Like, even if the comics make money in the grand scheme, it's such a drop in the bucket for them.
Yeah. Now, does Disney own the company Marvel, or do they own the rights to Marvel?
No. Disney owns Marvel outright.
Okay.
Yeah, they bought it as a company in 2010.
Okay. 10?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they had it a
That's
long
a long
time
time
ago.
ago.
So the MCU begins... So Marvel Studios starts in the early 2000s. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you know that, but several Marvel movies before that are Marvel Studios films. Mm-hmm. And then they start the actual shared universe with Iron Man in 2008. And you still have... is it the 20th Century Fox logo or something else? There are, or maybe there's even a couple of different logos in front of some of the Marvel movies because they have different distributors. And then I'm not sure what the official first, like, quote unquote Disney Marvel movie is, but certainly by Avengers.
Yeah.
It was full blown, Disney, because obviously they had some things in the pipeline as that merger was or that buyout was happening. Mm-hmm. But anyway, that is a great question, though.
Yeah. Avengers was the first Disney movie.
Hey, I nailed it. But yes, I want them to be as separate as possible as far as the worlds and the stories go. But I don't think, and I also don't think there's anything wrong with each of them influencing each other. If there's a brand new character that's added to the MCU that the comics want to use in a different way, I don't have any problem with that. Like, when they decided to put Coulson in the comics, I don't think they ever did anything with him, but I didn't have a problem with that. That's not wrong or anything. But you just don't want them to go, we've got to keep overhauling everything to match. Mm-hmm. Okay.
People were saying Paramount did the early MCU movie.
That's what it was. Thank you. No, and I knew that because the Paramount logo is in front of Iron Man. That's what it was. And of course, Fox was X-Men.
Yeah,
So yeah, I guess Fox wouldn't have. I don't know what I was thinking. I guess Fox wouldn't have distributed any of their stuff outside of what they were actually producing with Fantastic Four and X-Men and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go ahead and talk about trailers. Which one do you want to start with, Jason?
Trailers!
Exactly. Which one do you want to start with?
What should we start with? Let's start with Fantastic Four.
Yeah, I think we probably should, too. This hasn't happened to me in a little while. I don't think, really have this with Superman. Although maybe you'll go back to the speculation cast I did with Austin, and I bring this up there. I cannot remember, but I legit teared up.
Yeah.
With this trailer, I really did, and a lot of people will not be surprised by that because I have been waiting for a authentic, off the page, honest to God Galactus for 20 years now, and I said for a long time before the Fox buyout that in a perfect world I really wanted Fantastic Four to finally go to MCU because it just felt like something was massively missing. In some ways, even more than Spider-Man, which is, a big part of the Marvel Universe, but an easy thing to stand alone, just like X-Men. You got the whole first family thing. So much of the lore and the general, kind of feel of Marvel starts with Fantastic Four. And it just feels so foundational. That was always really hard to swallow. We don't have the Fantastic Four in the MCU, and more than that, so much of the cosmic stuff is Fantastic Four stuff. You kind of feel like you don't have Jack Kirby if you don't have Fantastic Four. And so the closest thing we got for a long time was the end of Doctor Strange with Dormammu. He felt like their Galactus. Like, it was the closest thing we had. So I loved that third act because Dormammu, I felt like we sort of had their Galactus. And now I'm in like a real surreal pinch me place where we got Galactus.
You didn't like the Cloud? And
he's shaped right, and he's not just taking out Saturn and nobody's talking about it. It's very exciting, and of course we knew that was happening, but to actually see it and to to see, the outline is correct, and there's been a little bit
Galactus.
There's been a little bit of question, and Galactus is like way up there for me, one of, if not my favorite Marvel villain.
Was he really up there in your top 50? I couldn't remember.
No, it was Thanos that I stupidly forgot to put in my list, even though he's up there too. He's in like my top 2 or 3.
How would you think of Galactus but not Thanos? Like, I always put those together.
Galactus and Thanos?
Yeah, because they're pink big guys.
Well, Galactus is purple and...
Yeah, purple and pink.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they're somewhat similar hues?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not, like, really...
One of these is a smaller guy, relatively, because he's Galactus, that has a gauntlet that makes him godlike, and the other one goes around eating planets. They're a little different. They're cut from the same cosmic cloth, I guess, but they're,
I don't know.
Doing very different things. And
they both have armor.
One of these is a Kirby thing, and one of these is a Starlin thing. But
okay.
Anyway,
I didn't know who made that.
I digress. There has been a little bit of... I'll just start at the Galactus place and then get into the larger Fantastic Four thing, because it's not just seeing that glimpse of Galactus that made me tear up. It's the attitude and the atmosphere of the whole thing. And I am... So I said I'm going to be real positive about these 2 trailers. I'll just get that up front. I put it in the title. I'm actually excited. There is something that I'm going to get kind of negative about, but it has nothing to do with what we're seeing, the movie itself. It's bitter. This whole thing is very bittersweet for me, and I'll tell you why here in a little bit. But I'll just tease that. But there has been a little bit of discussion about whether Galactus is going to be purple in the movie, because the glimpse we get of him is from behind and in shadow a bit. And when I saw a still of that taken out of the trailer, I was like, oh crap, he's not going to be purple. And then I blew it up when I was putting together the thumbnail for this video, or for the stream. And if you look up, and Dan suggested this too when I was talking to him in Discord today, and I looked close, and I think he's right about it. When you look up at the top right piece, I don't know what you call it, that comes off of Galactus' helmet, the way the light's hitting it, I'm pretty sure there's a little bit of purple in it, and I think it's just the way the light is hitting it. I think they, which makes it look grayed out. I think they intentionally picked that shot to not show us too much yet.
Yeah.
But I think he's purple. It might be a muted purple.
Yeah.
But
it won't be like Starro.
Yeah.
But
wouldn't it be very bizarre if they went so off the page and Art Deco and like 60s Silver Age comic with this whole thing, and went purple Galactus is a bridge too far?
Yeah. And also, I love the, like, kind of 60s futuristic, like, retrofuturism thing.
Yeah.
Like, I love retrofuturism. It's part of the reason I've really gravitated towards Fallout and stuff like that. And why I really like... And I mean, Star Trek really got me into that. TOS. And I'm really liking what they're doing here. With that.
It looks nothing short of inspired.
Yeah.
The art design of this thing, it feels so. This is the writers of WandaVision putting this together, and it feels like what they maybe had in the back of their minds when they were going back to sitcoms in the 60s with WandaVision, where they were thinking, if we could make a giant Marvel movie, this is the thing they would do. Mm-hmm. And it almost makes you wonder if they came into... I don't know this, but it almost makes you wonder if they came into Feige and pitched it when they knew that he was putting together Fantastic Four. I wonder if it was their idea in the first place to go 60s period with it. And 60s period is what I've always wanted for Fantastic Four. I think it's more appropriate... I think the premise of Fantastic Four is most appropriate in You can rework it in a more ultimate way. That was attempted with Fan Four Stick with Fox. That could have worked. It just didn't for lots of reasons with that. The original vision with that movie might have been okay. It might have worked out. There were a lot of reasons that was compromised. I did a written review of that years ago. I've outlined all of that before, and I don't remember a lot of it now. But if you do a more kind of like out there, fantastical, for lack of a better word, super science kind of Fantastic Four, putting it in the period that it was created during, has always seemed like the correct approach to me, and the way to win people over on it that think that it's too silly. Mm-hmm. It's also not going to be for everybody. Some people will just, it'll be, to use that phrase again, a bridge too far, that it's the silly concept set during a silly period, and those people aren't going to want this in the first place. It's not, at least initially, looking like it's in the grander MCU, and some people that really care about, however many of these there are left, of the grander universe of the MCU might look at that and go, this kind of looks like a side thing, and maybe it's going to be really important when you get to the Avengers stuff, but they might not get excited about it because it doesn't have any characters they already care about. They haven't liked Fantastic Four before. It's set in a different time period now. Like, who cares? Well, I'll talk about the bittersweet thing in a second, I guess. Like I said, inspired art direction all the way through. I don't know if you saw this. I saw a leaked, and then of course it got pulled down immediately, but I saw a leaked teaser that wasn't exactly this trailer. There was a lot of stuff in this that wasn't in that teaser from a Comic-Con from months ago. I
saw that was there, but I couldn't catch it in time.
It had the Fantastic Four song in it.
Okay.
Fantastic Four, which is wonderful. It's just killer, and it reminds me so much of Mask of the Phantasm.
Yeah.
Like, all the retrofuture stuff in this reminds me of Mask of the Phantasm. Welcome Gotham to the future. That old thing. It's great, but like the car is super cool. Everything is just like really slick and sleek, and extrapolating, retrofuturism, extrapolating from the 60s to imagine what the future, what they thought the future was going to look like. And I like that it's got a style on its own. Like, we had a little bit of that with the Howard Stark stuff with First Avenger, and some of the early Marvel movies, I kind of pointed to that a little bit. This goes even a couple of steps beyond all of that. And it's so stylized and unworldly, and not at all ashamed of the source material, and it's really exciting. People were talking in the comments earlier about how off the page the Thing looks, and you look at that and you go, see, was it really that hard? It's really that hard to give us the eyebrows and all of that. It looks like, I don't know if that is a fully CG creation or if it's like a partial suit with CG on top of it, but it's not too Uncanny Valley. That also shouldn't be all that hard to do, because like, he's a big rock guy, and so it's kind of easier to do than just a regular human face. But
yeah. Behind the Grid says the Thing looks perfect. I just wish his voice was edited to be deeper. Yeah,
it's funny enough, I'm not having that with it. I'm actually kind of okay with what he sounds like. You kind of expect a deeper, more booming Ben Grimm voice, and that's what we've had in the past. There's just something kitschy about it that fits with this material to me. Where, like, some of the things that don't feel very realistic are what are really working about it for me. The cast, all for the glimpses we're getting of them, look wonderful. But I still have reservations about Pedro Pascal, and I know a lot of people do.
Yeah.
I'm just having a hard time imagining him as a scientist, and seeing. I mean, not in the Jessica Alba way, but
I don't know if I can see him in that 60s like aesthetic either.
He's just, this is unfair to him. This is also maybe part of the reason they picked him, because they felt like they needed a star or somebody people. It's like Pedro Pascal's like this giant draw just as a name all by himself. He's not like a Robert Downey or something, but it almost feels like it's such a counterintuitive choice that it almost, unless we go to the movie and very quickly we go, oh, okay, now I get why it had to be him. Just from what little we're getting, I'm still not seeing the casting yet. I'm still not getting why they felt like it had to be him. It feels like there's got to be that one recognizable face, you know? And, like, there are actors in this that people have seen in things, of course, but I've seen Pedro Pascal in enough stuff that I'm looking at this and I'm going, he's really jumping out at me, while I'm able to see all these other characters or all these other actors as just their counterparts. And if he seemed to just fit it in the first place, it didn't seem so counterintuitive. Kind of like a Benedict Cumberbatch, where I was like, I don't know if I want Cumberbatch for Doctor Strange because I feel like I'm just going to see Cumberbatch. At least he seemed right for the role.
Yeah.
I'm still not seeing Pascal. Some of it is I don't see him right away as a scientist, and some of it is there is a kind of like inherent selfishness and potential like moral ambiguity to Reed Richards that is not always immediately apparent, but he's so like in his own world all the time, and sometimes tends to not look at the greater good before he's just looking at like what can I do, what can I accomplish, doing things because you can do them, not because you should do them. And I'm worried I'm not going to see that complexity in Pedro Pascal. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying he's not a good actor, because he is. I just don't see it yet.
Yeah, Cinematographic says, unfortunately, he thinks Pascal cannot and will not make Reed Richards interesting enough.
And we'll just have to see.
I think we'll just have to see. We got one line from him, one or two lines, and it's I don't think he's right. But
his attitude seems right. It feels like he's trying real hard to fit in that period.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if part of the reason he was picked might be like testing with actors. I wonder if they felt like there was this great chemistry between him and the actress playing Susan Storm, and that's why he got the role. And of course, we haven't seen enough yet to know if there's a lot of chemistry there. But that was the first thing I thought looking at this trailer, because there is kind of an emphasis on their relationship. Mm-hmm. And I thought maybe they just thought that they really seemed like a great couple. I will say I love that they cast them a little older.
Oh, me too.
I love that we've got a Susan Storm with like silver in her hair. Like, it makes me very happy.
Yeah.
Like kind of a Sue Storm that's lived a little. That's great.
Yeah.
We got the Herbie robot.
Yes.
He looks cool.
Yep.
And there's
Herbie's kind of coming back.
Yeah. And I'm just not seeing hardly any hallmarks of MCU in it.
Yeah.
Like, it really looks like the movie that Fox might have made if they hadn't gone the direction they went in 15.
Yeah.
Which is kind of neat. And that's where my bittersweet feelings come in. Because I'm afraid that immediately after this, or maybe even at the end of the movie, the MCU has to wreck everything that looks fun about this movie.
Yeah.
I want this thing to even more so than like First Avenger, where I was fine with that movie being entirely in World War II, and then you get to the end of the movie and we've got one scene in present day to catch him up. I want this entire thing to live in a vacuum, so that if you don't care about MCU right now and you really don't want multiverse to impact this, you can just enjoy this movie as its own thing. And even when inevitably, when we get especially to like Downey Doctor Doom and all of that, with Doomsday and then Secret Wars, you can go see this movie. I'm saying this somewhat on behalf of some of my friends that I know hate the multiverse stuff and don't care about MCU right now, but are really happy with the direction this movie seems to be going. I want it to be in a vacuum for them. And honestly, for me also, because I have, and I say this all the time, there have been a few MCU projects here and there the last few years that I've liked okay, but I no longer have any investment in the grander universe, and I want it to reboot. I'm in... It's not to the same degree that I was with DCEU.
Yes.
Because I had this with DCEU during almost its entire run, okay? The MCU, I was deeply emotionally involved with for like a decade.
For like the first 3 phases.
So that's nice. At least we had that. But with DCEU, like kind of after BVS, I was like, okay, this needs to turn into something else like very quickly.
Yeah. Well, you don't even really like Man of Steel, so.
I am in a place. Yeah, but I did when it first came out. I am in a place. Yeah, go back and watch that original spoiler cast. That's hilarious. Don't do that. When I saw this, I was reminded, and I'm like doubling down on it now, of what I've really kind of been missing from the MCU and really wanting it to do, because I've been excited about the possibility of soft rebooting by the end of Secret Wars. Most of us are pretty sure that's what's going to happen there, especially bringing in Doctor Doom with that, with Doomsday and then Secret Wars. You're going to do the Secret Wars thing where Doom recreates the universe in his own image. I'm almost certain that's where we're going with all of that. And I'm like, okay, that's your chance to recast characters people care about, to bring back an Iron Man and a Captain America, et cetera, Black Panther, hopefully, et cetera. With this, now I'm really impatient, Jason. Now I don't want any more MCU stuff after Fantastic Four. Now I want this to be their Superman. And how neat would it be if that was happening in the same year? Yeah. And it's not, but where DCU and MCU both start fresh and from scratch, and with the characters that are the foundation of their universes. How wonderful would that be? Yeah. Give me a brand new MCU. Just jump over to this universe, wreck the old one, or make some more projects in it and then eventually let it die, but let this be the new main universe, and give me everybody in this style. Let me see, because it's inspired looking. Mm-hmm. I want to see what their Spider-Man looks like. I want to see what their Avengers look like. I want
feel like that could be cool.
All of it in this 60s period Art Deco thing now.
Yeah.
And I get that is a gigantic risk. I get that there are a lot of people that are not going to want that, or are not going to want that forever. When we did X-Men First Class, I don't think there was anybody that was necessarily wanting us to be in the 60s forever. Mm-hmm. But why couldn't you, and again, it'd be a risk, but why couldn't you, again, either have a couple of universes running at the same time, or go, let's just have a decade plan. Let's have a 10-year plan where we live in the 60s with Marvel. Mm-hmm. We do a Marvel Silver Age cinematic universe. We do a movie or two for the big heavy hitters, and we have maybe a couple, like 1 or 2 big event films. We don't have to end the universe. We don't have to do any of that. We just live there for a while. Do some cool old-fashioned stories over there, and then maybe reinvent the wheel again after that.
Yeah.
That's what I wish we were doing now. Or at the very least, I wish this Fantastic Four could live on its own, and if it's gotta do the multiversal crossover thing, because I am still more okay with multiverse than a lot of people, just because I know it can be done well. We just haven't much with MCU. They could have their cake and eat it too, where this Fantastic Four has its own universe, and we maybe start developing other projects in that universe, other Marvel things. But then, when we get to, like, Secret Wars, we bring in this Fantastic Four, and they get to see the rest of the universe, like this other universe for a while, and then go back to theirs. Yeah. And then we deal with their stuff over there again.
Yeah. My big worry with this is apparently it's not. Originally I thought it was going to be the writers of WandaVision, so I'm actually glad it's not.
I thought it was.
It is the director.
Oh, okay.
But I was really worried that they were going to do the thing that WandaVision does, where it's in the 60s for, like, the first two acts, and then the third act, it's not the 60s anymore.
Yeah. Or we pull the curtain back like WandaVision and there's something else that's been going on all along.
Yeah.
Carl Maxey, we mentioned him earlier, and I had not heard this. He said that there's been a rumor going around, so grain of salt, obviously. I don't know if there's any truth to this at all. I would imagine not. But maybe there's some fans that think this is happening. He says there's been a rumor going around that this Fantastic Four spends the movie trying to get back to the MCU. They look like they belong here in the first place, so I don't really understand that.
Yeah.
If that were the case. I think there's every possibility that Galactus destroys their world. They just cannot get their hands on the ultimate nullifier this time, folks. And they end up having to, like, find a way to jump to another universe, and that's how they get to MCU.
Mm-hmm.
Going with everything we know is happening, this is not what will happen. But what I wish they do, Jason, is... This is all very, very wishful thinking, obviously. Sorry, there's a fly in here. It's driving me nuts.
Yeah.
What I wish we'd do is introduce this universe, and then there's no interaction with the MCU whatsoever in this entire movie, right? And then we get to Secret Wars, and then instead of Doctor Doom creating, and forget the Downey thing for a minute, instead of Doctor Doom recreating the universe, the MCU gets completely destroyed, and the Fantastic Four is maybe involved in all of that, and there are remnants of our universe that end up in theirs, but more or less we still use their world to reboot the universe.
Yeah.
Where, like,
that's a neat idea.
Every other universe we do kind of a Crisis thing with it. Every other universe in the Marvel multiverse is destroyed except for this one. You know why? Because it looks definitive Marvel.
Yeah.
This idea of the MCU as the Prime universe, or what did Deadpool call it? The sacred timeline. Mm-hmm. I hate that, by the way. I feel like what we're seeing with Fantastic Four is what should be the sacred timeline. I think it would be really neat, but just stop calling it that because it sounds pretentious and stupid. What I wish we do. This fly, man. I don't have a fly swatter down here. It's a basement and it's cold. We don't usually get flies in here. I would love it if we'd go, oh, psych, what you're seeing here is actually the real Prime universe, you know, sort of like Turtles Forever in going to the Eastman and Laird universe and saying that's Turtle Prime. Like, it'd be cool if what we're seeing in this Fantastic Four movie is Marvel Prime.
Yeah.
Like, this is the actual real Marvel universe.
Yeah.
That's what I wish it was.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, you've got the weirdness with Dr. Downey playing, they swear up and down, the real Dr. Doom. I think what that might mean is that's Dr. Doom. Well, yeah, I don't know. I was going to say in the MCU, but then he wouldn't be Downey. It'd be really weird if you had a Tony Stark and a Dr. Doom that looked this. He's got to come from a different universe. So I don't know. So
the MCU is just...
Yeah. So, like, you've got the weirdness of that, and then you've got female Silver Surfer. So with those two things, you are not off the page. But everything else about it and everything that's in this actual trailer looks authentic and definitive and exactly like it should.
Yeah. Senior Stick says Captain Logan is the anchor point of Geekvolution. Do you think that's true?
I mean, I didn't invent it, you know. so probably. But yeah, so looking at this trailer, I found myself almost more excited for this than Superman. I'm worried that once we get to the female Silver Surfer of it all, and maybe I won't have that as much.
Yeah, I'm like this.
I mean,
I'm excited for both at the same time.
I would love for them to win me over on that. I don't know if they can. The assumption people have been making is that the MCU will have the real Norrin Rad off the page Silver Surfer, and because this looks so much like what I think should be like real Marvel Prime now.
I think the female Silver Surfer should be from the MCU.
Should be the MCU. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I think too.
And then the other Silver Surfer is just stuck in a cloud. Yep.
Well, anyway.
And then we get a rise of the Silver Surfer. Yep.
But despite my reservations with Pascal, I liked everything that I saw with this trailer.
Yeah. Someone was saying this in the chat earlier. I
Yeah,
don't remember
and then we can hit those super chats, and then we'll talk about Jurassic World real quick.
Yeah. But I really liked whoever did Mr. Fantastic in Multiverse of Madness.
Oh, okay. I did not.
I thought he was good.
I don't think that would be the right pick for it in ongoing Reed Richards, but yeah, I forget that guy's name. That's an actor I didn't know, but people were obsessed with the idea of him being in the MCU because apparently, this is one of the things we were talking about in Discord today. Apparently, that guy, I'd have to look up his name, was the model for a while for Reed Richards' face in the comics. Like, somebody kept drawing him like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so people wanted him in the MCU.
Yeah.
And wanted his wife to play Sue Storm, I guess.
Okay. John Krasinski.
Yeah.
That guy from The Office. Yeah.
So I don't really have a dog in that because I don't really know that actor. But what little we saw of him in Multiverse of Madness, I was like, eh.
I think I don't know. I'm gonna need to see the movie.
He exists in the dumbest universe.
Yeah.
Like, I like Multiverse of Madness. That universe is a stupid universe. Can you imagine if that was the MCU?
Yeah.
Like, if that was the world we were following?
Yeah.
You know,
they just made a statue of Doctor Strange
with 82-year-old like Star Trek Picard Xavier and Captain Britain and
yeah.
Was she Captain Britain there, or was she just their Captain America? I can't remember.
No, it's Captain Britain.
I thought it was.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so I'm not with you on that, but whatever. We talked about this longer than I meant to, because we've got other things to discuss.
Let's do the super chats real quick about this.
Yeah, go ahead.
And then there's a question that I'll just do in the Q&A.
Sure.
Because it's not related to this, but kind of related.
Yeah, so don't worry. We will get to that super chat. Go ahead.
Okay, this is super chat. $2 super chat from Cedar Sticks. Is it time to admit the Fantastic Four is unfixable?
No, not at all. And it was never unfixable. There were just some bad attempts. Yeah. This is, and nothing against this super chatter, but this is an assumption that I've always disliked. This idea that because something hasn't been realized properly means it's impossible. Now there are things that are harder than others to bring to screen. Certainly, there's always that question of, for instance, whether Watchmen really is the unfilmable graphic novel. So people that don't like the Snyder version would look at that as evidence that it can't be done well. I don't agree with that. I also like that movie fine, but when you get to something
the animated version's better.
But I hear ya. I get why you might look at that as evidence of, see, it's tough to do. It doesn't mean that it can't be done, but that is a thing that was always meant to just be comics. It's also a story adaptation as opposed to just character adaptation. You look at something like Fantastic Four, you look at all of the other, relatively like hokey or like cheesy looking or just absurd concepts that we've brought to the big screen, and I go, well, Ant-Man's got a trilogy and they did okay. You're saying you can't do Fantastic Four? Like, I don't understand that. Mm-hmm. the movies that have been attempted were done, I think, in ways that were too unsure of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Like, you didn't play it straight off the page enough.
Yeah.
You didn't go, let's just go full tilt with it. The answer with Fantastic Four is not how do we make this more realistic. It's how do we translate the hokey super science to screen.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it is possible that a somewhat more grounded, more like kind of body horror Fantastic Four, like Fan Four Stick was trying to be, could be made, but that doesn't take away from the possibility that you could do what the comics did well on screen.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you can do Spider-Man, I don't understand why you can't do Fantastic Four.
Yeah. And also, like, Fantastic Four is the first Marvel superheroes. Like, they're, like, the most basic, like, if Fantastic Four should be the one where, like, if you can do that, then you're good.
Yeah.
So if they can't do that, then, like...
Yeah, well, and, I mean, the powers are difficult. Especially back in 1994 when it was first attempted, with no money, and with Roger Corman's company. So, like, that is more of a hurdle than maybe even something like Spider-Man, because it's hard to make the web slinging look good, but at least you don't have the how do you make a rock creature look real problem, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We also hadn't really cracked the code on the superhero team movie when we first started trying to make Fantastic Four. I think that's a thing that nobody talks about. Except when we did Tim Stories, we had X-Men by then. So I guess there's that. But we hadn't had a lot of attempts at team superhero movies. And X-Men is handled in a somewhat more grounded way, or at least it's not interested in being flashy and comic booky.
Yeah.
And that actually worked in its favor back then. Like, people did accept that.
Yeah.
Okay, somehow we're already at an hour.
Let's go to Jurassic World.
Yeah, we'll go to break a little bit later than normal, and let's try to talk about this for just 10 or 15 minutes, and then we'll go ahead and go to break. We can hit this a little bit more. I guess we should have just talked about this, but I did want to talk about these other things too. If people want to talk about this more,
is the big one.
With Q&A later, we totally can do that. And we might end up with just a little bit less Q&A than normal tonight. We've got so much to talk about. But anyway, Jurassic World Rebirth is the first Jurassic World movie in the last few that I have not felt the need immediately to rename. Actually, that's not true. I do want to rename Jurassic World Rebirth, but I don't want to rename it in a clever, ironic way. Where you had Jurassic House and Jurassic Plague. I'm fine with Rebirth. That seems appropriate. What I want to do with the title with this movie is bring it back to Jurassic Park, or take Park or World out of it entirely. I don't like the baggage that comes with that franchise. It went so insanely far off the rails that Jurassic House I only enjoyed as a big budget B movie, and Jurassic Plague is one of the worst experiences I've ever had in a movie theater. And not because it was a bad crowd, it was just one of the worst movies I've ever seen in a theater. I will never go back to that. You can't make me. You can't. Even if we ever do Jurassic Park commentaries past the first one, you can't make me do it. I'm not gonna watch it. But I should never say never, but I don't want to.
You gotta do it. You gotta do a big stream where you watch every Jurassic Park movie in one sitting. A Jurassic World movie.
Ugh.
Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, so I need World to come out of this, because I feel like that franchise is done, and I feel like it's kind of a cynical studio thing where those movies all made over $1 billion, and so that's the branding now. It's Jurassic World. No matter what we do story-wise, it's got to be called that. And like I want to get past the baggage of that. I want hardly anything from those movies to ever be referenced again, even though, like, you know, dinosaurs have gone out and existed in civilization now. I'm fine with that never even coming up again. this looks like it's so much more back to basics, and like it's so much more related to the original Jurassic Park movie and Lost World certainly, but it feels like it's connected to that franchise, and the world stuff kind of doesn't matter now, which does make me happy. But I wish that title wasn't there, and I feel like some people that aren't excited about this would be won over by it more if only, and I know this sounds very superficial, if only World wasn't still in the title. I feel like a lot of people are looking at that and going, oh, it's just more of that stuff again. I really wonder if the people that are down on this, if some of them anyway, if this was called Jurassic Park Rebirth, if they wouldn't perk up a little bit, they would be like, ooh, because it looks completely different to me. I really like what we're seeing here. First of all, the effects look so much better than they have in a long time. I like the adventurous tone of it. It feels like it's a little smaller. I don't want to use the word grounded again, but it feels like it's sobered up again. It's taken itself a little bit more seriously. But there is a clear sense of fun in it.
It feels like the same balance, at least closer to the same balance of the first Jurassic Park, than the Jurassic World films.
It feels so much more in that spirit than any of the Jurassic World movies were, because even with that first one, which I liked fine when it came out, and I've gotten more down on as time has gone by, especially with those sequels. Even that movie feels cartoonish in comparison.
Yeah.
This feels like the dinosaurs might, pardon the pun, kind of have teeth again. And it feels like it's out there as a science fiction thing in all the right ways. Mm-hmm. You know, where it's got it's got a fun, wild premise, but like it's believable in the context of this world. Where there was some stuff in Jurassic House that was just too far off the lunch. The idea here of there were like mistakes in the genetic coding where we had some screw ups. We accidentally created like monster dinosaurs instead of the intentional new dinosaurs that we did in Jurassic World. I like that idea fine. I'm actually kind of surprised we haven't done that before. Austin and I were talking about that earlier today. I think he's right. He said how was that not a thing before?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Believe it or not.
I didn't fully get the idea of like screwed up cloning until I saw a still of a two-headed raptor in a test tube, or in like a big tube thing, and I was like, oh, that's what the guy means when he says this is the island, because it's supposed to be like the research island. I don't know if it's Isla Sorna again, or if it's even like a third island. Like I don't know where we are, but he says, and I thought this was a weird line at first. He says, this is where all the dinosaurs that were too dangerous for the original park were. And I was like, you had raptors? And you had a T-Rex? Like, how was anything too you had poisonous plants? Like, how was anything too dangerous? And then there's a two-headed raptor, and there's like a weird monster dinosaur toward the end, and I was like, oh, they mean like monstrosities. Like, we're going to like a Dr. Moreau place. Okay.
Austin says it's a third island.
It's a third island, okay. They have so many islands around there. They commandeered all of them.
Yeah. All the dinosaurs.
But that's a fun premise. Apparently, and this wasn't in the trailer, but there were some other details that were released, and one of them is there's supposed to be like a cure for heart disease with one of the, or more of the dinosaurs, and that's part of why they're there. I don't know how I feel about that. That seems a little goofy to me, maybe.
I think
that seems like something the other Jurassic World movies might have done.
That seems like something one of the Jurassic Park sequels would have done.
You think?
Yeah.
I mean, you gotta have some sort of motivation for going there.
Yeah.
especially since it's so dangerous, and they're like, we don't belong here, and we should not expect to get out alive. I think it's kind of fun that, and I like that we've got a little bit of sense of theme with this, where now it's not we played God and created dinosaurs, and we're messing with nature. Now it's like more of the like classic Lost World idea of the dinosaurs now own this part of the world, and we might as well have invaded an alien planet, where it's like now the hubris is we went there and we don't belong there. And it's related to that idea in that we can't coexist. But I like that it doesn't look like it's necessarily going to hammer home too hard the same thing that all these movies are constantly talking about. Over reliance on technology, and messing with nature that we don't understand, and that whole idea with the first movie that I always loved of somebody else figured out the science, and you don't have the responsibility with it because you didn't have to do the work to do that.
And I do like with this one that there might be a lot.
We're getting the remnants of that still.
We're getting more of the science stuff from the first movie, which I really like that we're actually maybe going back to that.
Yeah, and I like that we're going back to the brass tacks of it without necessarily being too nostalgia baby with it. Mm-hmm. Obviously you still got the theme at the end. Like, you expect that. You do open with that image of the banner when dinosaurs roam the earth. So there are those things tacked in to those kind of iconic images to like perk you up in the first place. But like, that's the franchise you're in.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like a carbon copy of another of any of those movies. It does, story-wise, it looks like a hybrid of 2 and 3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is kind of odd.
But I think it'll at least be better than the Jurassic World franchise by being closer to a Jurassic Park sequel than a Jurassic World movie.
Yeah. Well, let me step back for a minute and say this is not a franchise that I have been convinced was ever franchisable. And I'm saying this after the point I made with Fantastic Four, when I said just because you haven't seen it done well doesn't mean it can't be done well. Fantastic Four is this like broad concept you can tell all kinds of stories in. Jurassic Park was a story. Mm-hmm. Everything else after that is aftermath. Like, you tried to make a park, it didn't work. There are still dinosaurs there at the end. So the closest thing you have to sequel bait is there's a T-Rex screaming at a helicopter. Like, that's all you've got.
Yeah.
Oh, and I guess actually that was the end of Jurassic World. What am I talking about? There's not a T-Rex screaming at a helicopter. There's a T-Rex there with a banner falling on her head. That's it. That's all you got.
Yeah.
It's her because it's Jurassic Park. But anyway, so I'm not saying that I needed more Jurassic anything. I would be fine with this franchise dying. I don't know that it ever should have had sequels at all. I think it's almost a Matrix kind of thing in that way, or like a Terminator, not a Terminator, but maybe a Terminator past Terminator 2.
And a Jurassic.
What now?
Like Animatrix.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what we need.
That one fell a little flat.
Yeah.
Anyway. I see, because the Transformer or the Terminator anime is that why you brought that? I'm just not even sure why you said that when you said
it
that.
was like the
because I said Matrix.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. But I don't know why your brain went to Animatrix when I said Matrix sequels.
Because that was the other Matrix thing. I don't know.
Okay, sure. Anyway, but there is. So first of all, if we're gonna have this, obviously, like I love Jurassic Park. Like I want it to finally be good again, and by again I mean half decent, because none of the sequels have been particularly good. But more than that, I need something to wash out the taste of Jurassic Plague, like Fallen Kingdom. I hate that movie. And is the last one Fallen Kingdom? Yeah, and then Jurassic House is... See, I don't even remember the names of these movies now. Maybe Jurassic House is Fallen Kingdom. What was the last one? Dominion. Dominion is the last one. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I just need something to wash the taste of the terrible taste of my mouth out from that.
Yeah.
So yes, it looks derivative of other things. People are talking about Skull Island.
Yeah, I was seeing a lot of Skull Island.
And this is the same director who did Godzilla 2014. This is Gareth Edwards. He made Rogue One, which I liked quite a bit. I know not everybody does, and visually that movie's a little overwrought, but I think it's one of the better Star Wars efforts in the Disney stable, which is not saying a ton, but I like that, and I am fine with a thing that looks a little derivative of something else to kind of get us back on a track over something kind of unclassifiable that's all over the place that doesn't know what the heck it wants to be. I made this analogy with Austin, Jason. I think where we're at with, and I think they got exactly the right director for this. Where we're at with Jurassic Park is like where you are after a terrible 3D Sonic game. Because what 3D Sonic will often try to do in finding its footing again is it will go to a game that's been real popular lately and kind of clone it, and some of those end up being like the better 3D Sonic games. So you had Sonic Colors, which is kind of like Mario Galaxy, especially like in the soundtrack. And then you get Sonic Frontiers, which was looking real hard at Zelda Breath of the Wild. And I'm like, yeah, it's a little derivative, but it's competent, you know? And so I'm kind of more okay with that. Again, I'm also just excited about, God, this freaking gigantic fly. We got a Jurassic Plague happening here.
No.
This fly does not like that I was besmirching the good name of Jurassic World Dominion, but it has a sense with that trailer anyway, a real sense of adventure and potential terror. You know, we need that again.
Yeah, we need that.
And I was getting real like Tomb Raider vibes from it.
Oh, I can see that. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. I need to see that again because I really liked it the one time I saw it.
Well, and I just mean Tomb Raider as a franchise.
Yeah.
But yeah,
but
like
that one movie.
That reboot, like, sure, but just Tomb Raider. Like,
yeah.
That or what's that similar franchise that Sony also has that they made that terrible movie of? Uncharted. Yeah, I was getting Uncharted vibes.
Yeah. We have a super chat.
Yeah, let's hit that real quick.
I'm very excited because we have a return.
In fact, I'm fine if they just cross over Tomb Raider. That's the next thing to do with, and I said this to Austin today too. That's the next thing to do with Jurassic World is just find other franchises that fit well with dinosaurs.
Yeah.
And move forward.
Someone said 21 Jump Street.
Yeah, which almost crossed with Men in Black.
Yeah. But we got a $5 super chat from Here's $5.
Real quick before Here's $5 is back.
Yeah.
It's so good to see you. Real quick before you hit that. It's like Kong Skull Island in premise and
yes.
in some visuals here and there.
Yeah.
But that movie is bat stuff.
Yeah.
Kong Skull Island is crazy. And like it's a good movie.
Kong Skull Island's awesome.
It's fun, but it is a comedy.
Yes.
This is not.
Yeah.
Or at least what they're selling does not look like a comedy. It's got its one-liners. It's as much of a comedy or I shouldn't say that, we haven't seen the movie yet, but the trailer is selling as much of a comedy as the original Jurassic Park was. It looks more in line with that movie than even Lost World or Jurassic Park 3 did to me. Although Jurassic Park 3 is a lot closer. And this also feels like what Jurassic Park 3 should have introduced in the monstrosity, like, mistake, like screwed up DNA dinosaurs. Because they have that scene where they go into the laboratory, and it's real mysterious, and it looks like we're gonna learn something crazy, and then nothing. It sort of looks like they looked at that and went, "Oh, let's make a movie out of what that should have been." But anyway, what is Here's $5 saying?
He says, "Missed you, Cap."
Missed you. Here's $5.
Had to make a new account after a long absence. Cheers to Jason's awesome Animatrix bit. I laughed. Here's $5.
Yeah, sorry, Jason. I didn't mean to scourge you.
You just don't get any of my jokes.
Well, it just felt like it came out of nowhere. Like that joke needed explanation, and I don't like it when you have to explain jokes.
Yeah.
What you say, Anna-Jurassic?
Yeah.
The other thing I would consider doing this title is if you don't want to go to back to Jurassic Park because it's not a park.
Right.
That was always the weird thing with 2 and 3 is like it's not a park anymore. At least, and I don't like Lost World, but at least that movie had a villain plot with with like a corporation trying to make another park. So there's that. Jurassic Park 3 is just some people go to another island.
They didn't even try with Jurassic Park 3.
Yeah, just the title doesn't fit anymore.
With 2, they at least said, okay, this is the Lost World, Jurassic Park.
I feel like World should be reserved for that insane crappy trilogy that we have now, and we get rid of that. I wonder if the way to go moving forward shouldn't have just been just call it Jurassic whatever. And I'm not making a joke when I say that. I don't mean like the Jurassic House thing or whatever. Why can't this movie just be called Jurassic Rebirth? And then each subsequent movie, and let's get away from the trilogy idea, and let's just make movies, and each subsequent movie is just Jurassic, and then come up with a cool subtitle. You know, we all know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Nicholas Bodo, Jurassic Park 3 chose jump scare over plot. Yeah, kinda. And I just felt like it wasn't meaty enough. Like,
yeah.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is the original Jurassic Park is a carnivore, and Jurassic Park 3 is what Lex calls in the first movie a Vegisaurus.
Yes. I think Jurassic Park 3 is better than Lost World.
Yeah, by a lot. But it's just too short.
Yeah.
And it's pretty well directed. I like what that movie looks like. And I feel like Edwards must really like that movie, because this kind of looks like it a little bit. And I was also going to say Scarlett Johansson looks like she wants to be there, and that's nice.
Yes.
And the guy that was supposed to play Blade is waiting around to get to play Blade, so now he's in Jurassic Park movies.
So now he is in a movie with an MCU actress.
Dan, Jurassic Park 3 is only 90 minutes, which I don't mind. It's not about what the actual runtime is. It's just, I get to the end of that movie and I go, that's it? It feels too short to me.
Yeah.
Jurassic Park, Austin says 3 is Joe Johnston. Oh, I forgot about that. I think you mentioned that when we did a First Avenger somewhat recently too, and I always forget about that. That's a good director. Joe Johnston did that, and he did Rocketeer. It's a good director. Okay, let's go on a break.
Yeah, and then I guess we'll do my segment, and then we'll go back to news. We'll do the last news.
I'll just throw that out real quick and complain about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm always too long-winded, and we haven't done a show in a while.
Yeah.
Just getting back in the swing of it. Okay, guys, we're going to go to just a quick 3-4 minute break, and we will be right back after this Street Fighter song. Welcome back, everybody. It's time for the second half of the Captain Logan show, which might be a little bit shorter than the first half tonight. Okay, Jason, I want to switch things up just a little bit, if you don't mind.
Yes.
We're going to get to Jason's segment here in a minute. I want to just very briefly, instead of going back to the news after that, just hit my third topic tonight and not spend very much time on this, if that's okay with you. There is apparently in development right now, and it sounds further along than I wish it was, a Buffy reboot coming with Sarah Michelle Gellar. It's going to be on Hulu with Chloe Zhao directing, and with Gellar already signed on, already attached to it, it's making it sound like it is probably really going to happen. So I don't mind saying, and I alluded to this at the beginning, with no, completely unveiled. I think it's a horrible idea. I hope this falls through. I don't want this to happen. I like Sarah Michelle Gellar. She is in the Dexter prequel that's on right now. She's really good in that. I'm sure she'll be fine in this. There's a couple of gigantic, I can't even say reservations, just huge red flags with me with a project like this. The first one is, obviously, it's hard to bring back some of the fan favorites in supporting cast because too many actors are playing immortals. So you cannot bring Angel back with Boreanaz, and Boreanaz has said he doesn't want to do it anyway because he's like, I'm too old. I can't play that part again. And it's hard to bring Spike back. It's hard to do. If you wanted to resurrect Drusilla again, like it's hard to do any of these characters. And Austin and I were talking about this, and he thinks, and I don't agree with this. He thinks they're gonna do kind of the same thing. I just thought of this analogy, but the same thing that they did with the first season of the Frasier reboot, which is, it's pretty much just Frasier, and then there's a couple cameos, but the whole supporting cast is new. I don't expect that with this. I'm sure it will have new characters, but I would think that they would want to sell it real hard on as many people they can get away with bringing back as possible, because the popularity of that show had everything to do with that supporting cast. Yeah. Buffy was almost nobody's favorite character in Buffy.
Yeah.
Like, Sarah Michelle Gellar coming back for this, there's a lot of Buffy fans that go, yeah, okay, but, like, where's Marsters? Whereas, and I go, but I don't want that, because I don't want them to come up with some sort of excuse for a middle-aged looking vampire that has existed since the 1800s, but only is just now looking like that. Yeah. Or some kind of really crappy TV de-aging nonsense.
Yeah.
Please don't do that. And then, if it's just her with a whole new supporting cast, then who cares anyway?
Yeah.
And that brings me to my second red flag, which is, I personally, and not everybody's going to agree with this that's a fan of Buffy, I have a fundamental issue with the idea of a middle-aged Buffy. Because the whole point with the Slayers was always, this is a dangerous occupation that you're born into and you sort of have no choice but to do if you care at all about people. It's the kind of the power responsibility thing. And Slayers don't live very long. And yes, Buffy in that show dies and comes back to life a couple of times. And yes, the season 8 through 10 or 11 comics that they did, she lives quite a bit longer, but it's not like that's over a couple of decades. Like, even with the comics, and it's especially easy to consider this when you just take the ending of that show, when you get to the end of 7, I always want to imagine Buffy, something eventually happens, she just doesn't live all that much longer than that. Mm-hmm. I cannot get excited about her coming back for that. I feel like the only way you do Buffy now is to full-on reboot and let it be somebody else's complete vision. And it's weird these days talking about Whedon, because of unfortunate things that we've learned about the way he's apparently treated actors on set, and me, I don't like to get into celebrity gossip, and the way he treated his wife and stuff. People have really turned on him. He was drummed out of Hollywood. He's been, for lack of a better word, totally canceled now professionally. Having said that, I still, and I'm not saying that I feel weird about Whedon now too. I'm not saying I necessarily would want them to bring him back for this, but I have a tough time with Sarah Michelle Gellar's Buffy without Whedon. Mm-hmm. If you're gonna do it at all, it's gotta be somebody else's complete vision.
Yeah.
And I don't really even want that either. I kind of think we should just lay it to bed.
Yeah. Maniac Madness says she's supposed to be in the Giles role, I've heard.
So it'd be like a passing the torch sort of thing. Mm-hmm. Well, that's a little better. So they'd have to call it something else. It'd be like Somebody Else the Vampire Slayer. Mm-hmm. And if they brought back... I will say this. If they brought Faith back and they had them working together in that role, maybe like they start a new Watchers Council and it's like... And they could even do a Watchers Council of like all former Slayers. Because the thing is... spoilers for that show. If turn your volume down for a couple minutes if you don't want to know about this. But at the end of that show, all the potentials become full-fledged Slayers.
Okay.
So that's the other thing that gets weird about this is you've got a ton of Slayers in this universe already.
Yeah.
So she wouldn't be passing the torch to a new The One, mm-hmm. unless they decide that something happened and they quelched that, mm-hmm. where like you had potentials for a while, but then some kind of magic spell happens and we got rid of all that. I don't know, but I guess that's a better premise, and I had not heard that yet. If that's the case, the first person I would think they'd be likely to bring back actually is Giles, because Anthony Head is still working. He's only 70, and there was supposed to be a Giles spinoff. He was supposed to get a show called Ripper a long time ago, and this would be his opportunity to come back and play the character again. Mm-hmm. Now, maybe it'll just be a cameo thing. Mm-hmm. But if nobody else comes back, I would think he would.
Yeah. And I just don't know where each of the actors is at and stuff.
Yeah. So. Well, and you haven't seen that whole show, so you don't even know what characters live and die and stuff.
Right.
So there's that. But, so I don't know. I mean, as always, I'm not saying I can't be won over on it, but just on the face of it, I cannot get excited about that. Mm-hmm. I kind of wish we left well enough alone with that. Because most of these revivals are bad. Mm-hmm. But every now and again, you get lucky. And interestingly, this new Dexter show is actually quite good. Mm. So she's in one of these revivals right now.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's go ahead and get an adjacent segment. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, I just didn't have a lot to say about it.
No, I just wanted to make sure I weighed in on that real quick.
Yeah. I have seen the first 3.5 seasons of Buffy and the first half season of Angel, and I don't remember really anything, so.
You have to go back to it.
Yeah.
Because the Angel especially is wonderful, but.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk about the Switch 2, because that trailer dropped a couple weeks ago, and we had already had. They just kind of confirmed like every rumor. They were basically just like, everything, so here you go.
And it sucks because it was the day after the Captain Logan show that week, and then we were going to do a whole show on it the week after.
Yeah.
And then we had to cancel, and then we had to cancel last week, so we haven't been able to talk about it at all yet.
Yeah, so I have notes from basically just the trailer, because I haven't really been caught up on anything else. Besides, I know there were some rumors about the price, but that was about it.
I know a few things I can probably help fill in, but go ahead.
So I think the overall design of the console itself is sleek. I think it looks good. I like how rounded the edges are and stuff, compared to the original Switch. And obviously it's bigger. And like this, they switch the buttons around and stuff. I don't really know how big of an issue that is. The big thing that I have with it is this might be a good thing and this might be just kind of weird. There seems to be 2 charging ports, one on the bottom and one on the top. So if there is one, if the one on the top actually is also a charging port, then that's good.
Yeah, is the idea that you'd be able to put it in, what do you call those? The thing that connects to the TV.
The dock.
Not a hub. The dock, thank you. Would you be able to put it upside down?
No.
You put the dock any direction?
Because it's on the right side of the system on the top.
Okay. So, I didn't notice there were 2 charging ports.
I'm hoping that that's so that when you have the stand, you can still charge it.
Oh, okay.
I'm really hoping that that's what it is. And speaking of the stand, I'm so excited because we actually have the main console having the OLED stand and not the stupid little thing on the right.
That should be a given at this point.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that it is. What do you think about the magnetic Joy-Cons?
Yeah. I'm really glad that we're getting magnetic instead of the stupid, because they always get stuck.
Yeah.
Those little ports that they go in, I'm worried they might break.
Yeah, that's the worry, is that if you dropped it, they'd pop off.
Yeah. No. There's like these little ports inside the console.
Oh.
Or like sticking out that are just like these little rectangles that make it so that they don't drop out.
Oh.
I feel like those might break.
Yeah, maybe so.
And also, so the Joy-Con's color scheme, I think, looks kind of boring. I think it's just like, I don't know why it's just black.
I don't care personally, but I'm fine with it.
And then also,
I don't use Joy-Cons anyway. That's the thing, is I just use Pro Controllers. Like,
no, here's the thing though. I
hardly ever play in handheld mode.
I think I'm going to play in handheld mode a bunch with this. Because
what helps that it probably has eliminated Joy-Con drift.
They really showcased that stick in that trailer.
They made a big deal out of it.
And I don't know. I think it might be. I think the Joy-Cons might, and also they look maybe a little more comfortable. Just in the design of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're a little bigger. I don't know about. There's a C button. I don't know what the C button's for. And there are these trigger buttons on the side. I don't know what they're for either.
I also keep hearing this talk that it looks like it has some sort of optical mouse support.
Yes, and that was a rumor before the trailer, and then in the trailer they're sliding around, and I was like, whoa. So they might have, we might get Mario Paint.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
And then another thing I had was the system itself. It's keeping the red and blue thing from the first Switch, but the system itself has red and blue on it. So are we gonna get like different color Joy-Cons, or like are we gonna get like different systems that are different colors on the sides?
I bet that's what they do.
Like,
yeah, maybe so.
Yeah. I'm really glad it's just Switch 2 and not something stupid.
I still liked Super Switch. We talked about this. I would have been very happy with that. But Switch 2, they've learned their lesson from Wii U. It tells you what it is.
Yeah.
It tells you it's another system. Most importantly, it suggests, and this is true, we've got this confirmed, but it suggests to consumers that they're going to keep the infrastructure, the online infrastructure of the Switch.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. My big takeaway from the whole thing, Jason, is it kind of just looks like more or less what a Switch Pro should have been.
Yeah.
Like, it kind of just seems like another Switch with some new bells and whistles, but they've upped the graphics capabilities, of course. And there's a lot of talk that it's supposed to be as powerful as like a Series S.
Okay.
And if it can, if it goes that far, that's nuts. Like they might finally be sort of catching up with next gen.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that Mario Kart, because I don't think that looks graphically intensive at all. I think it looks like a Switch game. Like what they showed, I think looks exactly like newer Switch games.
Yes, but that does not, because the thing is, a lot of Nintendo's first party, they don't tend, and this goes all the way back, they don't tend, especially at launch with a new system, to push the graphics capabilities all that insanely hard. Go all the way back to 91 with Super Mario World. The big complaint reviews had back then is it just doesn't feel like that big of a step up past Mario 3. They're ignoring the Mode 7 stuff, but, beyond that. So I don't think, and I don't disagree with you, but I don't think that tells you anything about what the specs are going to be. Because I think upping the specs that far has everything to do with third party. I think it's all about finally making a Nintendo system that is easier for everybody to program for. And because they're playing so nice with Microsoft, and Microsoft looks like it might be getting out of the console business, I think that has everything to do with Microsoft turning the new Nintendo system into partially an Xbox. If that ends up being true. And there's a lot of talk, I don't know if you've heard any of this, that the opening lineup of games is going to have a lot of Microsoft.
Okay.
And that they're going to put a Halo on it, right away.
Okay. Yeah.
That's not confirmed, I don't think. Or maybe it is, I can't remember. But there's been a lot of talk about a Halo on that system.
Okay,
so, grain of salt, folks, but
yeah. I think the kart designs for I'm not gonna call it Mario Kart 9 because I don't know.
Everybody's calling it 9. We don't know if they're gonna call it that yet.
But I think the kart designs look good. I think they're different. I like that. Like the normal one looks different. Than because for a really long time it was just kind of the same thing. So I like that the car designs are different. But why are they at the place from Cars?
Oh yeah, it does kind of look like that.
Why are they at like Radiator Springs?
Well, real quick, I think you're burying the lead here, which is it's really commercially smart for them to put a Mario Kart out at launch.
Oh yeah,
because people have been waiting for a new Mario Kart for 11 years. That has been the big system seller for the Switch. The reason they've never put another one out is because they can't stop selling it, which is weird because you think that everybody that would want one by now would have one, but apparently they keep selling it. And it looks like they're finally innovating again and pushing envelopes, and there's a lot of talk about 24 players at once.
Yeah.
Because there are 24 spots.
Yep.
At the starting line. There's also a rumor that it's going to be open world. I don't know if I trust that at all.
I don't trust that.
But that would be really neat.
It'd be cool
if they did that. That it would have sort of a campaign. Could you imagine or I say a campaign, just like a different mode? Could you imagine a Mario Kart that worked like Burnout Paradise or something?
Yeah.
Be nuts.
Or Need for Speed.
Need for Speed.
And I have a thing with the 24 player Mario Kart. If that is indeed what that is, I would like them to include the F-Zero 99 thing. Where you have a ramp that goes above all the players for a little bit, and then you drop down. I would really, I think that's a feature that could be a neat addition to Mario Kart, and with that many people, I mean that's 11 away from Super Mario Brothers 35, so that's a huge number of people.
Well, I think roster-wise, you're going to see it go in much more of a Smash direction. I think this one will have more characters from other games, because we've already got Link in 8, and I forget who else. I feel like there's
The Inklings.
Oh, I forgot about the Inklings. Yeah, yeah.
And Villager. Or
what?
Yeah.
Diddy Kong maybe?
Diddy Kong's been there.
Oh, has he? Okay.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that's a character technically from a different franchise.
Yeah, Donkey Kong's technically from a different franchise if
Yeah.
Diddy Kong is.
Austin mentioned the new Donkey Kong design. I don't like that at all. They're going with something that looks more like the movie, and I saw a video that was talking about that, and I had not noticed this, but the newer releases of the new Princess Peach game, do you know about this?
No.
Have replaced her model on the box to look more like the movie model of her. And that makes me think that we're going entirely in a movie design direction where they're going to do it with everybody.
This goes back to
I don't know,
Patreon question at the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah, the synergy thing.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
Because they all look great for that movie, but why do we have to change it?
Yeah.
Going the other way.
I'm hoping that I think it would be cool if, and they're not going to do this because it's Nintendo. They never did this. I think it would be cool if Mario Kart had skins. That's all I'm saying.
Sure.
Like, I think it would be cool if, I mean, you already have the different colored Yoshis and Shy Guys. You can just have, like, skins. I think that would be cool. And so you can play as normal Donkey Kong and movie Donkey Kong. You can play as normal Peach and movie Peach. But I don't think that's what they're going to do. I think that's just going to be the design for Donkey Kong, and it's going to be weird. And
yeah, that's definitely not skin. That's just what he's going to look like now.
And it's going to look really cartoony.
Yeah, and that makes me think that they're developing a new Donkey Kong game, and I bet it's a 3D Donkey Kong game. We haven't done that since 64, where he looks like that. I think that's where we're going. But who knows? No. Dan's Den, it's what happens when your film makes $1 billion. Yeah, but how does that translate to game sales? That's what I don't get.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same question that I always had when I was a kid. Like, why can't a character be in a cartoon show just because they're in a movie right now?
Yeah.
You know? Or have their own TV show just because they're in a movie right now.
Yeah.
What else did you want to say about this? Because we've only got about 15 minutes left in the program. I want to get to at least some Q&A here.
The last thing I wanted to say about this was, will they re-release stuff like Labo that will be compatible with the magnets and not the slidey things?
Well, I mean, Labo they abandoned pretty quick. I don't know.
Not really, but like they have a lot of like things that you can't use with Switch 2 that, will they?
Oh, I see what you're saying, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they've got such an install base with Switch that I would imagine they're not going to be too worried about backwards compatibility for peripherals. They'll just go, for Switch 2 games. Moving forward, you'll need the stuff that you need for the Switch 2, and they'll just assume that everybody has the things they want for Switch 1. One question I have that I'm not hearing anybody talking about, so this seems to be a given for people, but it's not for me. We'll see if I'm crazy or not. I'm just not, unless you've seen something more recently, I'm not 100% sure this system is not all digital.
Me neither. And
because the wording with that trailer was interesting, where they said it plays most Switch games physical and digital, but it says nothing at all about the format of Switch 2 games.
Yeah. Well, there is, looking at the trailer, there is a thing for the card, but will Switch 2 games go in there?
Well, yeah, I mean, that doesn't matter. We know it plays Switch 1 games and physical Switch 1 games. Just because it's got a cartridge slot doesn't mean that Switch 2 games have cartridges.
Right. And I haven't heard anything.
So I don't know.
I don't know that the wording has anything to do with that, but I think that was kind of how I would expect them to word that, but I am expecting them to go full digital.
Yeah, but they could have said the card slot plays Switch 1 games and new Switch 2 games. They didn't say that. Do
Okay.
you see what I'm saying? Like all they said was it plays Switch 2 games and it plays physical Switch games and digital Switch games. There's nothing in any of that that tells you what the format is.
Yeah.
And they didn't show a Switch 2 cartridge being put in the cartridge slot. They didn't show a box for what the cartridges would come in.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't show any of that. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying it's interesting. It's possible it won't.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for the record, I kind of think it will. I'm just saying it's possible it won't.
This is also the company who showed off the Wii U by only showing off the gamepad and not the actual system.
Yeah, you didn't even know there was a console. Okay, let's get to some Q&A, shall we?
Yes. We have a $5 super chat from Darren Dooley. Cap, did you get any sense of a theme the Fantastic Four movie is trying to get across?
Did he leave that back when we were talking about that movie? Mm-hmm. And we just didn't get to it back then?
Yeah, we didn't get to it.
Oh, well, we should have done that.
I had forgotten.
That's all right.
And we just went
sorry about that, Darren. Okay, so what was the question again? A theme the Fantastic Four trailer is trying to get across?
Yeah.
Not so much beyond just how the powers reflect the personalities of our characters. Like who they are now versus who they always were, and the idea that the powers have not shaped them into the people they are. They were always those people. And then beyond that, just spirit of adventure and scientific discovery.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a teaser, and I like that it's not real heavy on this is what the moral lesson of our movie is going to be.
Yeah.
But it's a lot more about the flavor of it.
Yeah.
Than anything.
And I really like the design of it.
Okay, great. It's about family. Well, yes, of course. It's Fantastic Four.
It's fantastic. It's a fantastic family. We have,
and it goes without saying, but I just like that we're starting with a completely established public FF.
Mm-hmm.
And that we've got a thing that is already as comfortable as he's going to be in his thing form, so we don't have to spend the entire movie with him complaining that he's a rock creature and yelling at Reed for not making him not a rock creature.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We have another $5 super chat from Here's $5. Cap may shun me for this, but a lot of his jokes have needed to be explained to me.
Oh, well, that's fair.
Don't
that's
hate
fair.
me. Let's go get some White Castle. Here's $5.
Okay, so look, here's $5. I don't understand White Castle either. Okay, that's a joke that has never been explained to me that we have continued to perpetuate because I think it's funny that it happened and I don't understand it. The White Castle thing has been going on for what? Probably 3 years now?
Yeah, I think 3 years.
And I forget, was it No Way Home, maybe?
I think it was No Way Home. I wasn't there.
We had a spoiler cast where people in the comments just inexplicably started leaving, and it was nice of them because I made some money that night, but they all started inexplicably leaving super chats about White Castle, and I think Here's $5 was maybe one of the perpetuators.
Oh, really? Okay.
I'm not sure about that. I'd have to go back and look at that stream.
Yeah.
Maybe that's his layered joke here.
Yeah.
He's always 3 steps ahead.
We have a I don't remember what I was gonna say. Dang it.
Were you about to spoil something from the movie?
No.
Okay, all right. Moving right along.
Moving along, we have a question. We don't have any more super chats right now.
John Kelling, White Castle might have been my fault. If not, I definitely helped perpetuate it.
We have a a question.
Oh, CG Anime Fan might rewrite. He says it was the Multiverse of Madness review.
Okay. We have a question for Paradox Camera. What are some recommendations of good Fantastic Four comics?
Oh, well. You can't go wrong with the earliest stuff, of course, and it's got a pretty fun for several issues if you like reading stuff from that period. And then the original Galactus trilogy is some of my favorite stuff from that whole period. And then for more modern things, and obviously I've been out of the loop for a while, but the Hickman run is wonderful. And I got in on the Death of Johnny Storm stuff, and that was right around when he starts. And then the Future Foundation series, just FF, along with Fantastic Four, which comes back after a few issues of that. That's all wonderful. So those are some things I would recommend. Not being a gargantuan FF guy.
Yeah.
There's lots of cool stuff in those early days that I have not read.
Yeah, I haven't read really any.
Oh, you got it. We got to do it.
Yeah. I have a couple Patreon questions.
Oh yeah, let's get caught up on those.
Michael Martin, throughout most of their history, both Marvel and DC were located in New York City.
That's true.
This helped the comic book industry, or do you think it would have been better if one of them was in another city, like Houston or Chicago?
Boy, I've never really given that a whole lot of thought. I'm not sure how the location of the publishers would have necessarily made much of a difference in like comic sales and how the industry ran. I mean, I'm sure things would have been different. I just can't really guess at what it would have looked like. If one of those publishers had started in a different city, things would look different as far as the stories go, because it wouldn't feel like everything is in New York. Like, Marvel is literally in New York, and DC had a lot of cities that were stand-ins for New York. Mm. So yeah, New York is kind of the comics, is kind of the realm of superhero comics.
Yeah.
It always has been. It might have been interesting if one of them started in California.
Yeah.
It look at least the comics would look different.
Yeah.
But I'd have to give it some thought about just practically what kind of difference it would make. The rivalry would be different because they wouldn't be right next to each other. Mm-hmm. And they might not have... Well, here's a question. Back when your writers and artists were working more physically in an office... Not that doesn't happen now, but a lot of people work from home these days. It's really easy to do that. I wonder if you would have seen as much cross-pollination.
Yeah.
Because it mattered more where you lived. So you might have seen more of the divide, a segregation of creators between companies. You might have seen some creators less motivated to leave and go to another company, even when they didn't like working conditions or weren't happy with the people they were working with. A lot of unfortunate stories of bureaucracy and politics with both of these companies going back decades. You might have seen some people stay at places they hated working longer if they didn't have another place to as readily go to. Mm-hmm. That's the first thing that comes to mind off the top of my head. Yeah. What an interesting question. I've never thought about that.
Is there a DC city that's not just New York City?
Yeah, you've got Coast City, some things like that. There are definitely cities that are stand-ins for something more like California or Florida, or these are not cities, these are states, but cities in those places, or something a little bit more Midwestern.
Because like Metropolis and Gotham are both New York City.
They're both New York City.
What's Star City?
Your guess is as good as mine. I mean, Star City, I've always seen as kind of its own thing, but there's maybe a little bit of a California thing there. Like, maybe that's more of like a Seattle or something. I guess I'm only saying that because Green Arrow, more recently, and by recently I mean like a decade and a half ago, went to Seattle for a while. But I don't know. It's a good question. I don't know what Central City is supposed to be. I always made fun of the TV show for putting Central City on a coast, because I always thought being called Central, it should be in the Midwest. But then apparently in the comics, it's also not in the Midwest, so...
Yeah.
Harry Henry. Funny thing is, I've been reading early Ant-Man comics, and they first say he's from Center City. So there's an alternate universe where Marvel had fictional cities like DC. Interesting. I didn't know that. Well, we have just a couple of minutes left on the program.
He's not from Central City.
So we won't do a special end segment tonight since we went so long with news. We'll do that next time. But let's get maybe one more question, Jason. And if anybody really wants to talk about something else, just real briefly, throw it in the comments right now. And otherwise,
if anyone has a really good question,
a really good one. And otherwise, we're gonna do one more Patreon question and then bid you farewell, or one more.
Because I don't have a really good last Patreon question, so.
Okay. Yeah, I guess we can finish those up next time if you don't think they're great in questions. Yeah. And then we'll put feelers out for February. So again, patreon.com/Geekvolution, you can make sure that you get a question in if you can't be on the show or you can't be here while we're broadcasting. Okay, do you have something?
I don't.
Oh, okay. Well, we can just end out here then. Sorry, I thought we had more Patreon stuff.
No.
Or that you'd want to get to.
Yeah.
Harry Henry again. Okay, we got a couple of things coming in here. Sorry, I'll let you do your job. Go ahead.
Harry Henry, do you prefer Marvel or DC's approach to their cities?
I think this is a cop-out, but each is just appropriate for the approach those companies traditionally took with their characters. DC having the more iconic, larger-than-life kinds of heroes, it makes sense to have fictional cities. And Marvel being more down-to-earth and street-level and having characters that were traditionally, DC does this now too, more, flawed and three-dimensional. It made sense for the streets to look like the ones that we actually have. Mm-hmm. So I don't have a preference. I prefer DC to be DC and Marvel to be Marvel. I don't like that DC felt the need to become more Marvel-y as it went along. And in some ways, Marvel would sometimes go more in the DC direction. I don't really like that. I think DC can have its cake and eat it too and let its characters be more flawed and make mistakes and still be the more iconic godlike sorts of characters. After all, the Greek gods were very human.
And then our last question is from Robert Wild, and he asks, what does God need with the starship?
Well, you see, God is a fraud that is just trying to get across the galaxy, and he doesn't have a means of transportation. So that's why he needs a starship.
Wow, good job remembering the story, Dad.
Oh, sure. I thought you were gonna say good job stepping on everyone's religion.
That too.
I didn't know about this either. Harry Henry said, "I don't get Shazam being in Philadelphia." That felt like an odd choice. Was that in the movie? I don't even remember. Or does he mean in comics?
Is that in comics?
Yeah, I don't remember where he was. I thought that he was the fictional city in the movie. I don't even remember what that city is.
Me neither.
It's not Fawcett. What is that? I don't remember anymore.
This is something.
I'm rusty. Anyway, thanks everybody for tuning in. We're out of time. We will see you again next week with another one next Wednesday night. And I don't know what we'll talk about yet. We'll see what news and stuff pops up. Hopefully we'll have time to interact with you guys more and do more Q&A. Jason, thank you for modding and for your segment.
Oh, boy.
I know I helped you out a lot with that, but I had things to say about the Switch 2 as well.
Yeah.
Just to back off on that for a second, I should say that does seem exciting. I am a little bit worried about Nintendo's base price point moving forward. With their games. We didn't talk about possible price point for the system.
Yeah. I think it's going to be $999.
The rumors have been all across the board.
All across the board.
They need to keep it under 400. And if they do, they will sell like nuts. There's no chance it's as low as 350.
Yeah.
But the most credible rumor I've heard is like 370, and I think there's a really good chance that it's either there or right at 400.
Yeah. That's what I said in my notes, is I need it to be 400 and not over.
And I hope they don't get greedy about it. They also don't tend to sell systems at a loss. So it is possible that it is more than that. But I hope that they're smart about that, and it's not, because they need to be cheaper, especially to compete with Steam Deck, because they actually have a lot of competition now in that specific market.
Yeah, and the fact that they're kind of winning that right now is because they're cheaper.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Yeah,
and because of first party.
Yes.
But anyway, thanks everybody for watching. We sure appreciate it. We'll see you again real soon. I was Captain Logan.
I was Jason.
And thanks for watching, guys. I guess I said that, but bye, everybody.
I wanna take you for a ride.